Well, again, if you look at the definition of racism and violence, we believe that that is an all-encompassing issue. It can look at the whole issue of tolerance. It is very widespread in terms of its basic understanding. It's not targeting one particular area.
How we comply with the governor's mission of Halo. And make school safe, all schools safe.
Again, we look here in North Reading, trying to define the issue of tolerance and diversity. Again, it's perhaps how you might define what you mean by racism in its broadest context. It deals with that whole issue of tolerance, the understanding of what that means, and the understanding of diversity. To open up lines of communication, to be sure that students have opportunities to seek and connect with adults both in and out of the schools. We try to build that coalition with both, not just within the school, but a broad-based community.
I have some questions that I think need to be addressed. I'm going to ask them. If there's more questions, we'll try to take a moment to do that as well. After a study on crime, the Eisenhower Foundation's contention is many wrong choices, i.e. hard policies as building prisons, waging war on drugs, creating zero tolerance on crime, emphasizing money spent on these rather than on right choices such as early intervention with troubled youth, drug rehabilitation. What would you comment on these findings? Do you understand the question? Anybody? Comment on the question?
Well, I'd say a healthy community seeks to do both. And certainly the public health approach involves universal strategies that get administered to everyone regardless of a specific identified need, and down to more targeted strategies that deal only with those deemed at particular risk. And I think with the types of programs we've heard tonight discussed, curriculums in the schools that teach conflict resolution to all fifth graders as part of the routine health curriculum, and then programs that are mediation programs and programs that are available for kids who have a more specific need, that all levels are probably being covered in this community. Certainly, policing strategies, and Lieutenant Nolan can speak to this, have evolved much more towards preventive community policing approaches than merely punitive, and I think all sides agree that's a necessary and healthy development.
I'm not familiar with the findings of that study. However, I get the gist of it. And our approach to law enforcement is a triad approach. We're looking at the preventive events, as Ellen was mentioning. We're also looking at intervention, and we understand the rehabilitation aspect of that triad. Hence, we've written a grant, and we've got an advocate in place, Lisa McCarry and Laurie Harris, that are working with one component that we deal with, and that's victims of violence, particularly domestic violence or sexual assault. And one of their roles is to guide victims of these unfortunate events into the rehabilitative part of that triad. And that triad is a good model to follow for violence. It's a good model to follow for drug abuse and other problems confronting a community. And I think our programs pretty much are well balanced. It's a well balanced approach to addressing our community needs.
Well, the SCORE program is run out of the Attorney General's office, which is Attorney General is the chief prosecutor for the state. So there's a contradiction right there. If that, and I agree with Ellen that you have to have a little bit of both. You have to have both enforcement and prevention, and I think rehabilitation too. And I think that most people who are doing the work understand, because things aren't simply resolved in one way.
Right. Another question is, are the teens who commit violent acts the ones less likely to seek out peer mediation?
I think that kids who commit violent acts, that's a very general, broad statement. A kid who's Columbine situation, that kind of kid might not be likely to choose peer mediation, but there's a possibility that a student like that would have come to a peer mediation coordinator.
Prior to committing the violent act.
Right, and been identified, because the person is in a position where they're really there to advocate for students and get services to students. Oftentimes in our sport programs, kids come in pregnant, suicidal, all kinds of issues, and they'll come to the sport coordinator, and the sport coordinator will then refer the student to another service. But they have a relationship with the coordinator, and then will be referred to another service, not necessarily mediation. But kids who come to mediation may have been kids who've fought, been suspended, come back, and then their issue, their conflict hasn't ended. So what do you do with those students? Put them back together again in a school setting, or have them resolve their conflict? It's better to give them the opportunity to resolve their conflict.
I think that's an extraordinarily good point, and I'd just like to support it, and that is that there's a level of triage that happens. That kids who are troubled know that the program exists, may have a relationship based somewhere else with the counselor who's overseeing the program or whatever else, and find their way somehow through the peer mediation, maybe to referral to some other resource within the school or within the community. Some of them do use effectively the mediation. And in some instances too, a kid who really is carrying a heavy burden of emotional disruption may not be the kid who finds his way in a given instance to peer mediation. In the initial stages, our hope is that if in fact, unfortunately, there is an explosion of some sort, that now he's made us, or she has made herself, made us aware of their presence, and then we can be proactive and step into that void too.
The other possibility too in a situation, just because I've heard so many stories from school coordinators, they'll also have other students come to them and tell them about things that are happening that they may not tell other staff at the school, because then the information can very discreetly go to the right sources. So it's kind of a situation where maybe there could have been some student who might have known something that was a little bit scary and told the person. So that's another example.
And I'd like to just suggest and add that peer mediation is but one step in dealing with violence as a whole. There's the intervention strategies that have been put in place before. Mediation is the next step. Then you have crisis intervention if it comes to the point where
How the students come are
Yeah,
referred to
I mean,
mediation.
how do peer mediators identify someone who is weak?
What I was saying earlier was that if you have a full-time staff person in the school who's an adult staff person running a peer mediation program, because of the nature of the program, it's confidential, it's really designed to really advocate and build trust with kids. So the kids start coming to that person, will often disclose information, sometimes about other students that the school may not find out otherwise. That was one point, but as far as referrals go to peer mediation, referrals can come from any sources. Sometimes they do come from peer mediators who have friends who are in conflict. Teachers, kids themselves can go to the program and say, I want to hit this person, really mad at this person, they did this, but I want to come to mediation. There are all kinds of ways or disciplinarian. So referrals can come from anywhere in the school.
Are there any state-funded programs that address and support the issues of depression, loss of self-esteem, and pressures associated with academic and/or learning problems?
That's a lot of different categories of one question.
Okay, category 1, depression.
Certainly the Department of Mental Health funds clinical services for certain people and funds agencies that are available to provide clinical services. There's a whole groups like the Samaritans, who I really like to refer, and a lot of them run teen hotlines for people. They don't receive any state funding at this point, but they certainly are a tremendous resource for everybody in the state who wants to take advantage of them. And I like to tell people that you don't have to be depressed or suicidal to call the Samaritans. It's a good organization to reach out to if you know someone who's struggling with these issues and you don't know what to do to help them. They love those phone calls. Hi, I have a friend and I don't know how to help him or her, or my son's, not doing things the way he used to. He doesn't seem to be enjoying life and I don't know how to help with him. Or a colleague of mine is talking about suicide. What do I do? Those are great calls. Professionals or friends should feel free to make use of those organizations for that.
I have to put a plug in. Myself and Lori Harris, who's my partner with the advocacy program with the police department, field a lot of these calls. People call us directly and say, I have a 15-year-old who is exhibiting some signs of depression, or my friend's friend, or, I have concerns about whatever. And they come to us, we field those questions, and we refer them out, and we help, provide a link, which is one of the key functions of our job, is to provide a link for services.
With regard to some of the other issues you brought up, and like learning
Loss of
disabilities,
self-esteem,
loss of self-esteem, I'd say loss of self-esteem, it's the same framework as depression.
Depression.
But learning disabilities, and these issues play out not just in self-violence, but in aggression, amongst others. I think Columbine High was a great example. Those kids were not just homicidal, they were suicidal, and the behaviors have more in common than not. But we're not represented tonight by the Massachusetts Department of Education, and their Learning Support Services Unit really does a lot of services for kids in the area of learning disabilities. They fund the Safe Schools Initiative for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender youth. They fund all kinds of programs to prevent teen dating violence, to help schools develop crisis planning, et cetera, for coping with the full range of problem issues that young people can present.
I'd just like to add to that, too, from the school's point of view, that we become a funnel for a lot of this. As you go through each of those different categories, our role changes, but often someone who's concerned, a responsible adult concerned for a kid, or the kid himself or herself, can come to and will come to a school staff member more often than not. That would probably be in the form of a counselor or a really empathetic teacher with his relationship. Begin a dialogue about the problem, and from that adult can steer the kid and the family. If it's an outside agency issue, i.e. the kid is really seriously depressed and contributing issues seem to be things in the kid's life story, maybe including frustration with learning, but other things as well, that the school department personnel, the psychologist, the counselor, might be then referring to a partially supported clinic. The DMH money sometimes isn't direct, i.e. this is a DMH mental health clinic, but might be Eastern Middlesex Human Services, for example, in our catchment area, or the local crisis intervention team, and the referral might legitimately go there. If it's an issue of that's really deeply connected to the school experience, the school will also step in and take an active role, i.e. if it's learning disabilities, and we have, or the frustration is coming from that, and we have the reason to observe that, we'll generate the referral on our own and evaluate the child, and look to both plug in the educational support services that are necessary, but also refer out for the pieces that the school shouldn't have ownership of. And in a way that could be supportive of the family if, for example, there are also financial or insurance issues involved. We have the connections with those agencies too, and can help steer a family, a student, through that maze.
Treat the whole unit.
And we do it every day. It's really very common practice.
Runs the department.
Learning disabilities, and for that matter, major depressive disorder, are disabilities which are covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And parents who really feel that there's an issue, as you said, the school can refer and handle those things internally, but the families have a right to come and say, I have a concern about my child, and request an evaluation, which they're entitled, legally entitled to get.
And that information we put out as part of our charge and mandate, so that everyone in the school community, as parents, should be very aware at this point of what kinds of things they can access, and if they're in any doubt, all they need